Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We are starting the second panel of this morning, and I would like to welcome you as the chairman of the International Charlemagne Prize. My name is Jürgen Linden, and together with you all, I would like to open perhaps a new big and important chapter of European history, the enlargement of 6 countries of the Western Balkans. That might be a chapter of economy, might be a chapter of cooperation, might be as well a chapter of establishing democracy, making reforms, and stabilizing peace. None better than the Prime Minister of the Republic of Albania can explain to us this project. And in this sense, I would like to open the floor for His Excellency Edi Rama. Sitting? Okay. Prime Minister, the floor is yours to explain us the process, the development, perhaps even the obstacles of this process.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. And I'm sorry I don't speak German. Too difficult for me. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to be speaking in this forum. And also it's a pleasure that we can have a moment to talk about a part of Europe that is still struggling to be part of the European Union while being in the middle of Europe, and in the same time while being the only geographical reality in the history of maps that is entity of countries surrounded by the EU borders, which makes, as a matter of fact, the European Union a unique case also in the history of maps, because it's the only political entity with an outside border that confines itself with the rest, and with an inside border that confines itself from the 6 so-called Western Balkan countries. So, to come to Albania, you have to get out from the European Union, but in the middle of Europe. And this goes also for the many migrants that came to Germany, especially during the big refugee crisis of 2015, that they had to enter EU through Greece, to get out of EU through North Macedonia, and then re-enter EU through Croatia or Hungary. So it seems that Western Balkans are there to witness the need to accomplish the project of the European Union, and in the meantime, it seems to me that the Western Balkans are also there to witness that the term enlargement does not fit. It's not about enlarging, because when you get some weight, you enlarge. But when you have to integrate part of your belly with your body, you don't enlarge, you unite. So for uniting with the European Union, of course we have to do our homework, and this goes without saying. But in the meantime, thanks to Vladimir Putin, unfortunately, the European Union realized that the geopolitical aspect is much more self-evident than it looked like in times when everybody had the illusion that wars were a problem of the past and that wars will never come back to Europe. So when the Russian aggression to Ukraine started, the European Union attitude towards the Western Balkans changed for good, for better, positively. And now it's a common sense that the unification of Europe is a must, and it's a must for the sake of the European Union itself. Now, talking about us, about Albania, we have a very special and unique history that is uncomparable to the history of the other former communist countries, because we were isolated from both the West and the East. And for us, both were two sides of the same medal. So we were a kind of North Korea in the middle of Europe for many, many years. And we, in the same time, became the only country that, after the fall of communism, did not have a communist party, and we still don't. Nor a communist party, and either something similar to it. In the meantime, our very painful isolation made us the country that nowadays, based on the European Union barometer, is the most pro-EU country in Europe, including Germany. And for us, being part of the European Union is as simple and as essential as it was for the founding fathers when they started to build the European Union. Being part of the European Union for us is being part of a community of peace, of cooperation, of security. In many other realities, European Union is perceived as a bancomat. For us, it is not. It is not about the money. It is about a perimeter of peace based on values, a perimeter of tolerance based on values, a perimeter of security based on values. So we are doing our best. Of course, it's not easy, and I would not continue for long because I've learned that more you talk about Albania and the Balkans, less people understand because it becomes more and more complicated. But I want just to say that in the pace of integration and of the enlargement, there is a very interesting element which relates also to the famous slogan of the big wave of enlargement in 2004 when for many countries getting to the European Union was going back home. In fact, for us, it's different. We were never part of it, but we dreamt of it always. We were under the Ottoman Empire. We were the last to leave the empire and to become independent. Then we had to go through regimes that kept us at the gates of Europe by making it impossible to imagine that one day our old dream could become reality. And our most famous poet of the Albanian Renaissance wrote about it a line. For us, the sun rises where it sets, meaning in the West. So finally, we could make this choice. But in the pace of integration, you see that the countries that had more relation with the way of living in a structure of institutions had an easier time to get reconnected with the European Union. While the countries like the Western Balkans countries and like us that did not have that structure have a much more difficult task because we have to build many things from scratch. No tradition of state, no tradition of academia, no tradition of religious network and associations, no tradition of civil society and so on. And that's why we value the European Union as the most incredible know-how source to build institutions. It goes without saying that building institutions in a country where we are all cousins is not easy. And building institutions in an era where social networks are destroying many of the certainties and many of the references that were undisputable in the way communities built their life and in the way parents educated their children becomes more difficult. But we want to do it, and by no means we'll do it. So I don't know what will happen with the European Union in the years to come, but for sure, even if the European Union will disappear, Albania will still fight to be part of the European Union.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your clear statement and your declaration to approach the European Union, let me say, as soon as possible. But we are speaking about 6 different countries on the Western Balkan. And first question is, are they all agreeing with each other? And second question would be, are there other influences than the European Union ones? For example, Russian influences to your hemisphere. At least you are geographically between West and East.
Now, are they all agreeing with each other? I think we are agreeing with each other more than any time in our history. And one of the reasons we are today in the best place we have ever been in terms of communicating and cooperating is Angela Merkel. She did something very important for the history of the Western Balkans and for the pace of our integration to the European Union by starting what is today well known as the Berlin process. And for the first time in our history, 6 leaders of the 6 worst guys of the European family, which are our 6 countries that have always been seen like the terrible guys, met in Berlin in 2014, exactly 10 years ago, and met not to kill each other, not to shout on each other, not to dispute who is there first and who came next and who has the right to impose and all the rest that have been the characteristics of our history, but met to discuss what we can do together to build a common future.
That means you are really agreeing to each other, all the 6. And
That
what's
means
about
that-
Serbia
That
and
means
what's
that,
about
first of all, that
North
means
Macedonia?
that I love Angela Merkel still. And secondly, that means that since then we started a process that brought us closer and closer, and today we have an ongoing and routine communication, while, as you very well know, because we were talking before, thanks to the European Commission and to the leadership of Ursula von der Leyen, we now have also to deal with a new growth plan for the Western Balkans, which is practically the product, innovative product of this new consciousness in Brussels that these countries need to be helped to be faster ready for the European Union.
Perhaps you can tell the public.
But I just wanted to add about Russia, if you don't mind, because you asked me about the influence. And I want to say that because of our history, we don't have nor close relation and either the appetite for it with Russia. Because our dictator decided to leave the Eastern Bloc and the Warsaw Treaty exactly when Khrushchev decided to change the line in Moscow, and so Albania remained loyal to Stalin until 1990. And while in Soviet Union and in the other countries, the monument of Stalin was not anymore in the main squares, we had Stalin in our very central part of the capital. And because of that, we don't have any appetite to get closer to Russia. So in 33 years since we got out from the darkness, There was never an official visit from our side, high-level official visit to Moscow, and never a high-level visit from Moscow to Tirana, and we are not missing it. But for the other countries, excluding Kosovo, of course, because also in Kosovo, Russia has no influence and Kosovo has no appetite. In the other countries, Russia is quite influential, in different levels, of course.
You mentioned Ursula von der Leyen and her proposals with the 4 pillars for this approach to the European Union. Perhaps we can discuss a little bit, how far are you going there? What means reforms, anti-corruption, for example? What means internal market and getting on that internal regional market between your 6 countries and the European Fund for Investments?
Listen, corruption is the mantra, is the key word that you'll hear always when people will speak in the European language about Albania or the Western Balkan countries. But I want to make sure that you understand my view that fighting anti-corruption is in fact state building and modernization. It's in fact institutions. It's in fact creating systems that makes impossible for corruption to interfere in people's lives every day. And I take always an example with the German embassy in Tirana. Some time ago, it was a problem in Albania to impose the seat belts while driving, because freedom can come in a day, but democracy needs much more time. So Albanians got their private cars after 50 years of no private property, no private cars, no private nothing. And they couldn't really deal calmly with seatbelts. But Albanians coming to Germany and living in Germany, they could not even imagine to start driving without a seatbelt. And I've seen German embassy people driving without seatbelt in Tirana, which means that it's not about people, it's about system, it's about institutions, it's about the environment of law being above everyone else. And this is the struggle. So corruption is born with freedom and with human rights. Now, to make corruption move from being the alternative of everything that you are asking, you have to have a state and you have to have institutions that are giving you what you are asking and are providing you the concretization of every right you have in the country you live, while preventing everyone else to not take what is not rightfully his or hers. So it's a process, and that's why I always say, the bless of a country like ours is the European Union, because in many ways, where we had to start was very similar to Iraq or to Afghanistan or to name it. So countries that got out of crazy dictatorship and of brutal totalitarianism and had to deal with freedom and dreamt to build democracy. But how you do it? It's not something that you do in your own. So they don't have the European Union to help them, to tell them, to support them, to correct them, and to make them crazy. We have. So European Union does to us everything we need. Gives us the experience of state building, gives us all the tools of institution building, gives us the body of law to adopt, and drives us crazy because it's not easy. It's like going through a long study and having to comply all the time to finally be ready to get out of the studies and to behave in life with your knowledge.
Thank you. We want to continue the discussion with you, so I would open the floor to your questions. If there are, please go to the left or to the right from my side to put your questions. Meanwhile, I could put another question to the Prime Minister. That means these 4 pillars. Yes, please go ahead. These 4 pillars from von der Leyen, could that even mean that there is a 2-step approach from these 6 countries to the Union? That means first entering the internal market and later on only a full membership?
Listen, I think this is already something, because before it was nothing. So, and the problem, big problem, is that while crisis and very difficult challenges are being present, not because of choice, but because they happen, like the pandemic or like the war in Ukraine, and the European Union has the instruments to kind of smoothen the impact on its own nations. We are in the middle of Europe. We don't. So all these packages, all these big programs of boosting back the economies, of supporting green transition, of dealing with the consequences of pandemic, kept European Union in balance, while we couldn't even have immediate access on vaccines, and we were in the middle of Europe, and we eat Europe, we drink Europe, we talk Europe, we sleep with Europe, we wake up with Europe through TVs, through information, through this and through that, and we were like fishes out of water, while our people were dying. So that's why I always believed that it's time to think not only about what you said, which they have started finally, but also about a new status for the countries that are in the negotiation process, which would be an observing member status with no right to vote, but with the right to participate, to be in Brussels, to be in all corridors and rooms of the bureaucracy, to be in the European Parliament with no right to vote, but in the meantime to kind of be together and understand how it works, build up knowledge, build up the sense of togetherness, while I don't believe, on the other hand, in the rush to full membership. Because the rush to full membership, first of all, will not happen. But even, let's say, all the member states wake up one day and say, okay, let's get these guys in, would be bad for us. Because we need to do all the homework. Because the homework, building European states that work based on rule of law, based on institutions, is not to please Angela Merkel or Olaf Scholz, or to please Ursula or I don't know who. It's about our own interests and it's about our children. So we need to make the homework. Rushing is like giving a driving license without completing the courses and then exposing to crashing.
Herr Dr. van der Linden.
Thank you very much for coming here in this region.
How could I not?
As a former rapporteur for the accession of Albania to the Council of Europe, I can tell this audience that Albania is part of Europe. And I'm very happy to see that step by step, also on your side, you come closer to the European Union, and I hope that you will be a member of the whole European family. I have one question, and that's the question of young people. For your country, it's extremely important that you can keep your young country in your country to build up these institutions, economy, and so on. And the western part of Europe is now in a shortage of a number of these people, ICT, doctors, and so on, and they are, let's say, looking for people from outside, France, from Senegal, European countries, also from Albania. In my view, it's a very, very dangerous development because it can weaken your position in the whole process instead of strengthening. What's your opinion on that?
Thank you for making me the most tricky question. Because it's tricky because I don't know how to be diplomatic. I always speak my mind, and I have to speak my mind. The problem I see is that the old Europe, I mean Germany and all the good, great guys, is suffering demographics that is damning for all of them. Less and less babies, more and more demand for workforce, great mess with how to deal with migration. And so it has become a fight for fresh meat. How to take young people from us here as much as possible. It's not anymore the time when Albanians or others from the Western Balkans were seen like a problem. To say it all, they are the most preferred because they are white, because even when they are Muslims, they are not very much in difficulty to adopt. And more than that, because Muslims or Christians from the Western Balkans are all first and foremost Europeans, and they want to be Europeans, and they want to be part of it, so they come. So how a country like Albania or countries like ours in the Western Balkans can tackle it, how we can stop, or how we can change the pace. Of course, the easiest answer is you have to fight corruption, you have to raise the wages, you have to do. But sorry, but how we can do all this and then tell them, here you have the salary, you are a nurse, here you have the salary, better than Germany. You are a doctor, here you have the salary, better than Germany. You are an IT guy, here you have the salary, better than going to work for big and great companies in Germany or elsewhere. This is impossible. It's simply impossible. who thinks differently is just not thinking right. So this is a big problem, and we try to deal with it. We have made a lot of progress. We have gone from having an average salary in the public sector around 450 euro to 900 in June. Salaries in the private sector are growing very fast because also of tourism and the demand for workforce, but still it's a big problem. And it's a problem that Germany or the West will not be able to resolve just by taking Albanians. It's much bigger than that. If I'm not wrong, Germany, to be still Germany, in 2030 needs 7 million more workforce out of its own demographics. 7 million. Or we'll find them, or will not be Germany, in the sense of the same level, in the same level of its economy and of it. So how you solve it, and how this matches with all the walls and with all the, I don't know.
Perhaps we allow next question.
Yeah, hi. You can hear me, right? So I come from Croatia, and
From?
Croatia.
Croatia.
Yeah, and I have a question which relates to this kind of Balkan mentality and stigma, because often you said yourself that the more you talk about Albania, the Balkans, and the complex history, or simply the state right now, the less people listen. And at the same time, fairly frequently, Balkan usually means something negative, right? How much do you think that impacts your accession of other countries as well? Because oftentimes, as far as I know, people neglect some really positive things in Albania, for example, the religious diversity and peace between different faiths. Yeah, that's the question.
First of all, Germans owe us a big debt, because the name Balkan was put by a not very bright German who visited our region and looking at the mountains all the time. He was asking, where is it? And the Turkish guy that was accompanying him was telling him Balkan, which is in fact mountains. And he named it Balkan. So Germans should, when they hear Balkan and they feel not good, they should say, oh God, but we did it first. Secondly, yes, it's a complicated story, but I'm very optimistic, because it's not anymore like it was. It's much more different. So if we talk about Albania today, I'm stunned, because since last year in the German press, Albania is mostly for good reasons. Beautiful country, tourism, come to Albania, go to Albania. And Germans are coming more and more, and they are realizing that they were not very aware that in fact Albania is beautiful and is a place to be, and not only Albania but also the other countries. So of course we have our complicated history, as I said, and we have to do what we have to do to change things, and we are changing, and it will take time. But at least I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see anymore the stigma being a problem for us, nor in Germany, nor in Netherlands, thanks to Feyenoord, which came to play the final in Tirana, and brought thousands and thousands of Dutch tourists, they realized that it was not a place that they risked to be killed, they risked to be kidnapped, they risked to be raped or robbed, but it was a place to have all the fun Dutch want. And we had so many drunk Dutch in Tirana, and so many of them pissing in the parks. And it was not good for us, but it was a paradise for them. So now we have become a destination for Dutch people. So it is how it works, you know. It has to go also through some piss.
Thank you. Mr. Tsepkalo, huh? Mr. Tsepkalo.
It's me. Well, you give me a floor, right?
He is a real gentleman. He doesn't want the ladies to speak before him.
You can speak, no, just...
We have a question.
Okay. Yeah, me
Go ahead.
Just a small...
A true Balkan man
Go ahead.
from Germany.
Small comment.
Okay, well, if Dr. Linda asks me, well, I will definitely do that. Mr. Prime Minister, you raised very important challenge of how to comply with the difference existing between the way of living or the level of living between Albania and, let's say, Germany. But have you ever thought about an opportunity to create a kind of a technology hub where you would be able to keep your talents inside Albania and not forcing them to go to other countries? What I mean is that countries like Germany, the United States, France, and the UK, they would prefer these talents to be kept inside the country because they can save a lot, they can have better business if these talents would be staying inside the country. I can give you a small example. I created a high-tech park. I started it from the scratch. We had zero IT industry. In 13 years, the export from Belarus was $3 billion US. And we were having about 80,000 software engineers employed in about 500 companies. And American clients, German clients, British clients, they wanted to keep these people inside the country because they paid them $2,500 instead of $5,000 or $10,000 that they should pay them in their own countries. And that's, in fact, my question. And the second question is that you can create an instruments with which you can motivate young people to learn STEM from the schools, inside the schools. Thank you.
Perhaps we collect
No, just
some
I
other
answered to
questions.
him very quickly.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
What you did in Belarus was thanks to EPAM, right? Mostly.
Well, IPAM was a company of 100 people, and when they entered high-tech park, when they became, just one of the key residents of our high-tech park. But then we nurtured it. This company appeared from the scratch, like the world of tanks,
I know.
Viber. But IPAM definitely.
I know the history. I know the
archiving.
history, but I just want to answer your question. Did I ever thought? Of course, I didn't wait to come here to listen it from you first time in my life. I thought of it. EPAM is now coming to Albania, and exactly for the same design and for the same vision that we studied also in Belarus, and we are going to have it. But why we didn't do it before in that scale could be a question, and the answer is exactly because until some years ago, companies, big companies, serious companies would never think to come to Albania. This is the reason. And secondly, I don't think that it's a bad thing per se that young people want to get out, want to come to Germany, want to go. I was young once upon a time, and I also went out. I also was an immigrant in France, so I lived there. So This is what we fought. We had 50 years of life in a bunker. We couldn't get out. And if we wanted to get out illegally by constitution, we had to be condemned to death because it was a betrayal. So we live in a different world. Europe is ours as much as is yours or theirs, because you are from Belarus, so you are in different situation. So it's our place. So it's normal people move, it's normal people. I don't see this as a problem. The problem is how to bring all countries in a level where we have also young Germans, where we have also young French, young whatever. We have a lot of young Italians, by the way, now, that come and move and stay and work and do things. So this is how it should be in the future.
Thank you.
Mr.
No,
Prime Minister,
we can make a discussion.
I don't want to be misinterpreted.
No,
There are waiting other ones.
No.
Perhaps
I fully understood you, and thank you for raising it, because it was very important.
So we have a last question, as we are already out of protocol. Please
Okay.
go ahead,
Thank
and
you.
afterwards we have to finish.
Okay, so
Listen, when you invite people from Balkan, forget about German protocol. It's not possible.
Okay, so we do.
At least
Please go
forget
ahead.
once the protocol. My God.
okay, so my name is Verónica Relaño. I am Academy winner for this year, but the question is coming from Guillermo Eros Recio, who was the winner, the European winner of youth in 2021. He's gonna read it in Spanish, and then I will translate it into English.
Señor, mi sitio, usted además que político es que política y hombre de cultura, me puede comentar cuál es la situación de la persona con discapacidad. Si lo pivoto con sana que ocupación, porque soy una persona con síndrome. Thank you.
Their prime minister, apart of being a politician, you are a sportsman and very interested into culture. So could you let us know what is, in your opinion, the situation of people with disabilities in your country and in the EU? I'm asking just from the point of view of a person that has Down syndrome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and big respect for you. Now, I was once upon a time a sportsman. Now, I have only sports shoes and nothing else. It's yeah. I played basketball in the national team, and my first game was in Germany, but long ago, very long ago, 1984. About people with disabilities, it goes without saying that countries that are less developed than this country here, which is a role model for all of us, and I hope it will remain a role model, although it's going through some difficult times, is not easy. But we have done a lot so far, and we are continuing. For example, one thing I'm proud of is that kids with disabilities that go to school today in Albania, they have their own teacher. and which accompanies them all the way in the classroom and takes care. And we also try to help the families, try to help especially the single moms when they have kids with disabilities and so on. But of course, we need for sure to do much more. And we have an institute that is amazing, thanks to a guy who is blind, and he's the director of the institute, and he has done something absolutely amazing for kids with no sights and no sight and no hearing. And I think, yeah, it's always humbling when you have to answer about this, because it can't be enough, never. But I believe that it's important we have this sensibility a lot, and we try to do as much as we can.
Thank you. Is there still another question? Please, Mr. Morgenstern.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for your words. It was quite interesting to hear about your motivation in terms of state building and building up the institutions. Me working in the economy, in Germany, also in Europe, what's your strategy on building up your economy? You were asked how do you want to keep people there or attract new people, but what are the key factors besides building up the infrastructure of your country, but what is actually Albania will be proud of in 10 years, and yeah, what's actually your part of the European game? You said we are kind of a source of knowledge for you, which I think is a great picture, but what is actually what you want to bring to the table?
We are a source of fun for you, because you need some fun. And for sure, getting people from the Balkans in your big family will make the family more joyful and less depressive. I'm sure about it, because you think a lot, and which is good. But sometimes I believe that you don't realize how incredible is what you have. And you don't realize sometimes that everyone else, not just in Albania, everywhere, envy you, because you are in a much better place than the others. I know that it's much more difficult to deal with depression of someone that is used to have champagne every day and for some reasons can't have champagne one day, while it's much easier to deal with someone that is used to have bread and cheese and one day has to skip the bread. But this being said, I believe Albania is in a good track, and we have the worst is over, is behind us. We now are growing. We have tourism that is growing. I'm telling you, based on the last data of the European Air Traffic Agency, Albania has the fastest growing airports in the whole Europe. We grew 200 and, I don't know, 20-something% in March, while Germany, I don't know, had -12, I think, or whatever, compared to March 90 before the pandemic. So we are a country that has the bless of a lot of water resources, second richest country in Europe for water resources after Norway. So our energy we are 100% renewable, by the way, but our energy is very much based on hydro. So now we are diversifying with solar and wind, and our plan, based on real programmed investments, is that in 29 will be net exporters of energy, so will not be any more dependent on anyone, and will even export energy. And then, as the gentleman before said, we are pushing for the IT sector, while more and more companies are looking to Albania. But one thing I'm proud of is that we have become a hub for architecture. We have great architects working with us. We have around 7 Pritzker prizes making projects in Albania. And Tirana is a city you all have to visit. I'm not making here a spot about, for the Ministry of Tourism, but I told you have to visit Tirana because you'll never ever regret, for sure. It will be a good surprise, and we have better food than in Germany, by no doubt. To eat in Germany very good, you need to go in a good restaurant. To eat very good in Albania, you need just to stop everywhere there is food. And we are very hospitable, so we still believe in hugging and kissing our guests. So if you miss hugs and kisses, come to Albania, and you'll have a lot of them.
Prime Minister, thank you for your invitation. I assure you, we will come. We will come.
Listen,
So-
because I see a Jewish gentleman here in the room, and I want to tell you one thing. Hospitality is not a joke for us. Hospitality for us is a religion. We are Muslims, we are Catholics, we are Orthodox. I'm Catholic, my wife is Muslim. 2 kids from previous joint ventures are Orthodox. We have a little one. He may decide to be Jew, but our religion, above all religion, is hospitality. In the first Albanian common law, written law, in Middle Age, there is the most important sentence is, the house of the Albanian belong to God and the guest. But not the guest simply someone we invite, but whomever knocks at your door. And this made Albania the only country in Europe that had more Jews after the Second World War than before. Because while Jews were fleeing from every country, they were coming in Albania to get the protection from the Albanian people under this rule of hospitality. When the door knocks, is the will of God. You have to open the door. And even if behind your door is your enemy, you can't shoot him. You have to welcome him home. And you cannot touch him as far as he stays within the perimeter of your property. And the ultimate crime in this common law is betraying your guest. The guest is not someone you can betray. Otherwise, you are cursed and you are ostracized from all the social events, and you have only one obligation to fulfill if you don't want your house to be teared down. You have to participate in every funeral. A male member of your family has to go in every funeral of the community, because after the funeral we offer coffee. And when this person goes to this to get the coffee and say sorry for your loss, the coffee is offered on the floor. So he has to bend, that everyone has to see that who betrays the guest is never anymore like this, is only like this. And that's why the Catholic Church of Albania was a very, very particular example in the whole Catholic Church network vis-à-vis the Jews. because the Catholic Church of Albania engaged to make baptize fake documents to protect the Jews. And at the end, no one Jew was released to the Nazis. Albania is righteous among nations. Many Albanians are righteous among nations. And there were only 2 people deported in Auschwitz, 2 only. And they were not Jews. Because when the Nazis went to the house of someone of an Albanian family, and they asked for 2 Jews that were hiding, the old man said, yes, I'm hiding them and I'll give them to you, but please don't enter and don't dishonor my house. And he gave them his 2 sons. And they were 2 Albanians that came to Auschwitz because the Nazis believed they were the Jews they were looking for.
Thank you very much. In this sense, we are all looking forward to your speech tomorrow during the ceremony of the International Charlemagne Prize. For the moment, I would like to thank you once again and give you the best wishes for your approach to the European Union. Best wishes for your work and your country. And we are all convinced Albania and all the other countries on the Balkan are at least belonging to the European family. In this sense, thank you.